And welcome back to MTGRBD, episode 15. I'm your host, MP Numbers, and I'd rather be drafting, but instead I'm joined by two of my bestest buddies to talk about some Magic. We've got Des Mags.
Instead of drafting, I'm stuck here with us two. Wow, feeling the love. How are we all, guys?
Good, we're trying a new intro, mixing it up a little bit. And we've got food time.
How are we at 15 episodes already? That's amazing. What's up, guys?
Right? It's happening.
Is it 15 already? It doesn't
It's
seem...
episode 15.
It's weird though, like, I've been enjoying it, but it doesn't seem like that long either.
And somehow we've managed to do it 15 weeks in a row. So go us.
Well, some of us have. Not pointing fingers.
That's on me, but that's a pretty good track record for us, actually. I like it.
It's honestly about 14 times better than I expected. So, good job. All right, let's jump in. So this week we've got some things to talk about. Some bans were announced. Some gifts were purchased. Some drafts were done. All the kind of usual stuff. Let's just jump straight in. Have a chat. As always, I've got a booster pack that we're going to open. We're going to have a chat. See what we would open. Hopefully find something cool and go from there.
We haven't opened a real bomb in this section, have we?
Not really. It's all about finding that happy medium. Like if you get the bomb that's too good, that there's no conversation. It's kind of boring. So, but then if you get the dud rares, then it's like, well, that was not very exciting. So let's see what happens.
So you're telling me if you open Garrick right now, you'd be very disappointed because we didn't get to talk about it much.
For the sake of our conversation in the podcast, I would be disappointed.
Man, I wouldn't be.
Alright, let's do it.
Ooh again.
Alright, we're going to burn through some comments. It's been a couple of weeks, so I'm not going to spend too much time on them. We've got Pitchburn Devils, 4 and a red for a 3/3 that deals 3 damage when it dies. Whatever. Prismite's a 2 mana artifact. It's 2/1 that for 2 mana you can add 1 mana of any colour. That's going in the bugger off pile. We've got Furor of the Bitten, which is a single red for +2/+2 enchantment, and enchanted creature attacks each turn if able. So it's been doing good things for me, surprisingly. Lenoir Visionary is a 2 and a green for a 2/2. Enters battlefield, draws a card, tap to add single green mana. Warded Battlements, 2 and a white for a 0/3 wall with Defender. Attacking creatures you control get +1/+0. I've also played more of these than I would expect in the last week or so.
Yeah, really like that card, actually.
It feels like I shouldn't like it, but it seems to do stuff, so yeah.
Question, did we not crap on that earlier in the session? I thought it was one of those cards that we just kind of went meh over, and now it seems to be...
It still seemed like... It's got this feeling of like it should just be a card that we never play, but like wrong or right, I've been playing them, and it's effective. We've got a Blood Glutton, which is 4 and a black for a 4/3 lifelink vampire. Village Rites, single black, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards, instant speed. Goblin Wizardry, 3 and a red for a instant that creates 2 1/1 red Goblin Wizard creatures with prowess.
I've seen that used a little bit, actually.
It's better than you expect for a 4 mana. Like there's the blue-red deck that we talked about last week. We talked all the decks last week. Can definitely take use of it because you're getting 2 creatures on the board and playing a spell for all your spells matter cards. So it definitely comes in handy. We've got the Rambunctious Mutt, which is a very fun artwork on a 3 white for a 3/4 dog. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls.
Unfortunately, Fat pick. No, I'm kidding.
And Spine Megalodon, 5 blue for a 5/7 hexproof. When it attacks, scry 1. Card that you can play in your blue decks that just need a big finisher, but not exciting by any means.
Come on, peer into the abyss.
Looking at some uncommons. We've got a Pestilent Haze, 1 black, sorcery, either choose one, either all creatures get -2/-2 till end of turn, or remove 2 loyalty counters from each Planeswalker. Tried this a few times in sideboards more than anything, expecting aggro matchups, but it's never been exciting. Like, it's just kind of been like, yeah, sometimes it'll work.
Yeah, I won 1 game with it, like, today. That's
cool.
Something.
It's something. We've got the Burl Fist Oak, which is 2 green for a 2/3 tree folk. Whenever you draw a card, any card, Belfast Oaks gets +2/+2 till end of turn. Not a bad 4-drop by any means. We've got the Watch of the Spears, which is the white-blue gold card. So white-blue for a 2/2 with flying. Creatures with flying cost 1 less to cast. And whenever another creature with flying enters the battlefield under your control, the Watcher gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. I'm sorry.
Really, really good. I've lost many games to that card.
Can you show me?
When it works, it's great.
Can you show me that card? Which one was it? Oh, that one. Yeah, sorry. We do have the videos on, and it's also because I keep scrolling up and down to try to find the cards because I don't remember them by name. So I'm like, numbers, show me. I'm lost.
For sure. No, it's a great card when you get that deck. It's okay if it's the only card with flying, but you definitely don't want to be, white-blue deck if that's the only card with flying. I don't know if you'd first pick it. It does have that gold card tax, but if you end up forcing yourself into white-blue or lucking into a good white-blue deck, it'll definitely do good work. Our rare to get super excited is, I'm going to say it wrong because I always do, is it Karavek? Karavek the Spiteful?
Karavek.
Yeah, it's two black for a legendary human warlock. Other creatures get -1/-1. It's a 3/2. It doesn't excite me.
No, I'd rather take the flyer.
I think I'm taking the flyer or possibly the tree folk. If you want to avoid the gold tax, you're taking the flyer.
I kind of think tree folk or actually the rare. I
Rare?
I actually like this card, and I've seen it playing a little bit well, where people just kind of can't play any of their tokens. So especially if you're playing against somebody that is playing a bit tokens, or a ramp deck, all of a sudden rather than getting pinged for 2 or 3, you're only getting pinged for 1 or 2. So I find this quite good to just have it there and just sit it there. It is a little bit expensive for what it is, but I find it's a nice little blocker, and to have everything get -1/-1, I don't mind it there. I kind of seen a few people use it almost as an enchantment more than a creature, and I quite like it because it's all like, I'll play this card, I get 2 tokens, but I can't use any of the tokens because they die straight away.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's not a terrible card. It doesn't excite me, because it also knocks your creatures down as well. So if you're trying to do something similar, which I guess you wouldn't be if you put your deck properly, but yeah, no, I think I'd probably safe play the oak or go ham on the Watcher and try and force my way into white-blue.
Yeah, I think the tree folk would be a better all-round choice though.
I think the tree folk is the safer choice, so you can keep yourself a bit more open. Cool. All right, let's talk drafting. Did we draft much this week? Food time.
Yeah, I drafted a little bit. Yeah, so after last week, I decided to just kind of try hammering out a bit more, aggressive strats. I've honestly just been only putting 15 lands in my deck and trying to keep my curve 4 or less, and it's been going really well.
Nice.
Yeah.
What kind of records are we pulling away with overall wins, or just pull it all break even?
I went from 2-3 to 4-3, so it's not amazing, but it's significantly better than I was doing. So
for sure. And any surprising callouts?
I really like the +1/+1 counter deck. Every card in that deck is awesome. There's a lot of little synergies, like the cat that gives your other cats when it hits a person, they you destroyed artifact or enchantment they control, and then the Pride Milkin is just a cat by happenstance, and then there's that 4/2 that's just happens to be a cat, and a 3/3 that happens to be a cat. Those fit in the +1/+1 counter deck really well. And then that deck also goes really good with that 3/3 defender dinosaur, because it's super easy to just put a counter on it and start swinging. I also had a draft where I had 2 of the uncommon green-white cards. That's basically just hardened scales, where you get an extra +1/+1 counter when you get +1/+1 counters. That was dumb. That was fun.
Nice. That's nice. Yeah, I've done something similar. Because obviously we talked last week, and I decided to sit down and force my way into aggro. I think I did probably 4 drafts just over the week. And yeah, similar. I ended up with 3 3s and 4 3s, which is better than I've done with most of the format so far. I think 3 of the 4 decks I did ended up in just a red-white 2-drops. Two drops and a couple of the Basri's Acolyte, the 2-3 that puts counters on things.
Yeah, I love that card.
Yeah, the best versions of them were the ones that had at least, a good 3 removal spells, like a Scorching Dragonfire, a Shock, and the other one that I can't think of, Salty. Whereas the ones that didn't have those, they still got this. I mean, they still got the same amount of wins, but sometimes the deck just feels better, even though it gets the same results.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that just makes sense. Obviously, you want to be able to take the opponent's creatures out of the way, and sometimes you can get cute with combat damage and stacking and removal spells to get rid of their big things, so you can still win next turn. As saying during the opening packs, the red enchantment, the +2/+2, and has to attack each turn in Fable, the Furor of the Bitten, worked pretty well for me. Like I found myself often going turn 2 just playing like an Alpine Watchdog. Turn 3 playing another Alpine Watchdog and putting a Furor on the first, and then whatever plans the opponent had to block or trade or whatever just got thrown out the window because instead I had a 4/4 attacking. And sure, sometimes you get blown out by a shock, but whatever, it's just a 2/2 and a random enchantment, right?
Yeah. Fervor of the Bitten's a really good card. I'm actually like, that's a reprint from Innistrad block, but yeah, super sick card.
For sure.
Another card I really liked playing was Siege Striker. It's the 3-mana 1/1 double strike. When it attacks, tap any number of untapped creatures you control, and it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each creature tapped this way. This card's a powerhouse, especially with that wall that gives +1/+0 to attackers, because you tap the wall, you get another point of +1/+1. It's got double strike, so it's like near impossible to block. If you got any combat tricks, it gets even better. It's really good in the +1/+1 counter deck because it's a good target to just dump stuff on. Right, dump all your counters on it. It's really good with the black-white life gain deck as well. I played it in a deck with Veto and just absolutely rolled over people. Nice. It's as gross as it sounds, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That does sound gross, definitely. But it's been interesting, and I like, it's still a headspace thing for me. Obviously, I went into depth on it last week, and it's not that I'm not enjoying the self-playing, but before, 6 months ago, telling me that I was going to only play red cards for a week, I would have been super excited. But now I'm seeing Roaming Ghostlights, and I'm seeing actually past a Sublime Epiphany pretty early in packs, and I'm like, why am I? The card is good value. Why am I doing this? And I guess it comes down to that metagame more than anything, and it's been interesting to force these aggressive decks and get decent results. I'm not getting 7-0s in the best of 1 leagues, and you probably never going to get 7-0s when you're forcing archetypes. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been interesting.
Yeah, for sure. The removal is just like really sparse in this set, and or really specific. It's either like 5 cost and up, or like 3 cost and specific, like a tapped creature, or like you exile something and they get a 4/4. So like your aggressive strategies are just always going to be really, really good here, I think, in this set.
So, yeah. One thing that's really thrown me, I keep seeing people complain about the mill decks, and specifically that card that enables the mill decks, that whenever you draw a card...
Teferi's Tutelage.
Sure. I think it's the uncommon, yeah?
Yeah, it's enchantment, uncommon, yeah.
So a lot of people complain about that one. I've literally never lost a game to a mill deck yet. I've probably played, over the whole of M21, I've probably played, half dozen of them, and I always win with, 4 or 5 cards left in my library. Have you either played the deck or played against many of them?
I lost against it today because they had 2 Teferi's Tutelages out, and they just started milling the hell out of me real quick and just playing blockers. Like, they didn't have to do anything other than block, and they just had enough to get there.
I think some people try and get just a bit too cute with it, and they don't quite build the deck optimally. And well, at least the opponents that I play down in the the bronze levels, I just see people complain about it, and it probably is a correct version of that deck to play where it gets effective. But I've just never lost to it. I've never been like, oh no, turn 3 that they're still dead because they still lose to my attackers.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I've actually, because I haven't played any drafts, but I've watched a few while waiting on Twitter or waiting for friends to start, and I gotta admit, I've only seen it win when they've put 2 of them on the battlefield. I haven't actually seen them win with a single one as yet. So I
Probably the
feel
nuts.
like,
I think as soon as you have two of them, you're probably a lot closer to being guaranteed a win.
yeah. But yeah, at the moment, I've seen, like you've said, one guy, I think the first guy I saw, he played against it, and he kind of went, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. And had, I think, 9 cards in hand and won, and just ran over him. And then another player had, I think he said he had 6. But yeah, when they had 2, like, it was over in like 5 or 6 turns. Like, it was insane.
Yeah, for sure. The other deck that I've noticed is the white black life gain deck, because obviously playing these aggressive decks trying to force through damage. The black white deck, when you're playing against it, it doesn't seem good. Like, the cards that they're playing don't seem effective, but the sum of their parts, obviously the fact that gaining life makes it a lot harder to win as an aggressive deck, but these are the decks I tend to lose to. I don't specifically know why. Like, I watch back the games, or I look through opponents' graveyards. I'm like, I can't see a specific card that's caused me to lose this game, but yet I've lost this game. And I think it's just because of those incremental points of life they gain that helps them survive and take out. I don't know. Have you played against many life gain decks?
I've tried to force it a couple times, but I usually just end up in some like black-white aggressive pile. I think it's just really good because like you have just enough life gain to kind of get out of the aggro range, and then the aggro decks run out of gas, and you can just kind of roll over them. I think that's really it.
Yeah, I definitely want to try and get myself into a good white black. And I mean, it's literally since the first week that we talked about M21, when they the what is it, the pariah, the gold card was one of the first preview. I literally said I want to try this deck, and I haven't done it yet. So hopefully I can find myself in the deck in the next couple of drafts that I do and get a chance to actually play a good version of it. It'd be nice.
Yeah,
cool.
For sure.
Any other archetypes that you've come up against? Any specific decks that you've seen that have been like, whoa?
Nah, everything's been pretty. I mean, it's a core set. Like, nothing's super surprising. I'm not seeing any like crazy shenanigans that are blowing my mind.
Yeah, no, fair. So I guess what we expect to see, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. All right, let's move on then. Let's talk about some bannings. So obviously it is Tuesday the 14th as the time of recording, and they've just announced the new ban and restricted list yesterday with some interesting ones, some unsurprising ones, and anyone who listened to the podcast before knows we're not really experts in constructed formats, but we'll have a chat about them and share our thoughts and what other people have said. Now, where I wanted to start is one that might not be as obvious, but I want to start with standard. The big announcement for standard bannings is there is none. Which
Yay!
Yay! We can keep playing our standard decks. Now, again, we don't play standard competitively. We're not grinding through to whatever's, but I still am surprised because of the amount of these ridiculous green-blue based decks that are still showing up in high-end tournaments. We talked when the players tour, mythic, whatever they're called these days, happened online, and of the top 8 decks, there was literally 32 copies of Growth Spiral in the top 8, which is 4 copies in each deck. I think that's come down a bit. Like, I'm looking at some of the recent results we had. There was a qualifier for the Red Bull Untapped, and I mean, Growth Spiral was still seen in 46% of the decks, which it's getting to that point where you're pretty much guaranteed to play against a Growth Spiral deck every other round. And of course, Uro and Nissa and Shark Typhoon are not far behind. They're still obviously a bit less because they're not 4 orbs in every single deck. But I'm interested to see that there wasn't a ban on at least Growth Spiral, if not another card that helps enable that deck.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised too. Growth Spiral is kind of egregious. Like, it's almost a time walk on turn 2, because like, what are you going to do on your second turn if you're spending 2 mana, right? You're going to play a land and you're going to draw a card. Yep. It's really good.
It's like literally the best thing you can do for 2 mana in a format like this.
Yeah.
I have to say, I actually, because I had a little, I had my done with drafting for a little bit. I actually went on and I had enough wildcards to build a Sultai Uro-based ramp deck, and it's as dirty to play as it looks. Like it's fun. It gets wins pretty effectively, and literally when you can go turn 2 Growth Spiral, you're like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, especially on your opponent's turn on their end step, and they're like, oh no. Yeah. That card's instant for some reason.
For some ridiculous reason, and like it has these plays of like the version I had a Boreal Grazer in it as well. So you go turn 1 Forest into Grazer, put a land into play. Turn 2 a Boreal Grazer, put a land into play. End of the opponent's turn, Growth Spiral. You've now got 6 lands in play, like, and then you just play Nissa to win the game, like.
Yep. Accurate.
It's definitely powerful. There are a few more decks coming up, which is nice to see. And I'm guessing they're doing enough to hold it down to the point where Wizards don't want to say ban it, because they haven't. But it'll be interesting to see when the next actual big tournament, because these are qualifiers. They're still big, but they're not quite to the level of Mythic. What do they call them? Mythic. I always forget.
I don't know.
Yeah, Pro Tours. Let's say everyone knows what Pro Tour is. But like we've seen, looking at the top 8 of this event, I was just looking at, there's a mono green aggressive deck. There's a Rakdos Sacrifice style deck, which is pretty cool looking. There's a whole bunch of Reclamation and Uro and Ramp decks. So that's pretty much the 3 decks that are happening right now by the looks of it. So I guess it's probably a watch this space more than anything. I'm pretty sure they've said they're not banning on specific dates, like they're just banning as they need to ban. So I'll be interested to see if they do any kind of emergency bans in the near future when more big events happen. Cool. Let's move on and talk about Historic. Food time. What happened in Historic?
So Historic, it had a couple bans. There were some cards that were suspended last month. There was Agent of Treachery, Winota Joiner of Forces, and Fires of Intervention. They were suspended, which is basically, hey, we're banning this temporarily. We're going to see what happens. If we like the results, we'll ban them. If we feel like it's okay to unban them, we will. Spoilers, all 3 of these ridiculously overpowered cards are banned. And no one was surprised.
Nope.
Super surprising. Nexus of Fate was banned, to the rejoice of every Magic player. They all just collectively clapped. You no longer have to AFK for 20 minutes while your opponent tries to win the game. And then Burning Tree Emissary was banned, or was suspended, which again is that temporary banning, so you don't get your wildcards back for that. Which is an interesting case. So Nexus of Fate, we all know how egregious that is. I don't think we have to go over that. If you've played Magic, you know what's up. Burning Tree Emissary, though, is, if you don't know what it is a hybrid red-green card. So it's 2 mana of red or green in any combination. It's a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, add red and green to your mana pool. So it's essentially a free 2/2 on turn 2. Man, could you imagine if it said blue-green and you were able to play Growth Spiral?
Oh, God.
I shouldn't give them ideas. Sorry. So this card was suspended. This one, however, is a little different than the other cards that were banned or suspended. This one was printed in the Historic Anthology, which were cards that were put into Magic Arena. I don't want to say printed because that sounds weird for a digital game. But they were put into Magic Arena to be specifically used for Historic, like, hey, we're putting reprinting essentially, right, these cards for Historic, but then they suspended a card that they said was fine for that. So there's a couple ways to take this, and it does lead credence to the theory that they're not doing a lot of playtesting internally for these formats. I know I've heard, Wizards of the Coast say, hey, we only have so many playtesters, we're not going to catch things like, as quick as millions of people playing the game, which is obviously, but like, I don't know. It was a really good card back in the day too, and I think just like unleashing it in a world where you don't know how good it's going to be is like kind of sketchy, right?
Here's a question: if you are a historic player, if you are a oh my god, if you play history ones,
historic.
Yes, I can't. I just literally my tongue just doesn't work. But if you play that and you've gone out and gone, sweet, I can finally play this, or you're able to now play this, how annoyed are you that you've just gone out and either got these or used wild cards for these just for it to be like, actually, nah.
Very, very, very.
Yeah, it's gotta be kind of annoying. At least it's an uncommon, so you're only burning uncommon wild cards. But if you paid for the whole pack, like part of what you paid, like gems for, which is essentially real money, that card's suspended now.
Yeah, it's as you said, it's interesting because they specifically put this card in because they wanted to push this Gruul aggro or Jund aggro or whatever version they were seeing when they were putting the card pile together, and now they're like, oh no, it's possibly too good and maybe we'll have to ban it, but you don't get your wild cards back. I mean, hopefully for people who are being screwed over, hopefully they maybe had a couple of Winotas or Agent of Treacheries that they're going to get some wild cards back for that, but it's still a pain, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know, I'm looking also down this list and I can see kind of why certain things got banned. This one, I don't know, it just doesn't, or this, I know it's only been suspended at the moment, but this one doesn't seem as like uber powerful as the other ones. Was it just me thinking that because I'm not really good with?
It's this one's more of a part of a bigger machine, so it kind of comes back to that the talk, and I don't know if it lines up directly, but like with Growth Spiral, like Growth Spiral is a good card. It's not the best card that's ever printed, but it lets you play those decks, and if you want to play that deck, you kind of need to have it. It's very similar to this. If you're playing an aggressive, explosive Gruul aggro, and you want to be fast, you want to be aggressive, you need to be playing 2 creatures on turn 2 to really kind of get it out, right? And that kind of pushes it out of range of other decks to keep up with it, to the point so then the next person then builds Gruul aggro with it. I have to put my Burning Tremor series in, and it rolls on so that so many people are playing this deck that it is oppressive to the metagame, and you basically can't play other decks because this is the best version. So if they take this out, even though there are probably better individual cards in the deck, they're not auto includes in the explosive version of this deck. Make sense?
Yeah, it does actually.
Cool.
Scarily so.
It's surprising. I was like, this is going to be like a what?
No, it makes sense.
Like I get it, and it'll be interesting to see, because with Nexus of Fate, and Burning Tremor series, they exist on pretty much polar opposite levels, right? Like Nexus of Fate wants to get to late game, wants to combo out and endlessly do nothing until they win the game, whereas Burning Tree Emissary, you want to play the best play for Burning Tree Emissary is to play 4 of them on turn 2 and then just another random 2-drop, and then win the game on turn 4 or 5, because you're just attacking and killing with all your 2/2s.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that rotates out. As much as I don't want it to be, again, I'm not a historic player. I don't have a historic deck or any stake in historic, but I would prefer Burning Tree Emissary to not be banned. But I can kind of see, as you said, I can see why they would if they do decide to do that. Cool. All right, Des, talk to me about the Pioneer changes.
Okay, so being an expert on Pioneer, actually, I don't actually know what Pioneer is.
I'll pause you there, Des. What is Pioneer?
I don't know. I honestly thought Historic and Pioneer were exactly the same, if I'm honest. I just thought it was just kind of like old cards, and yeah.
I mean, kinda. Food time. Elaborate.
Okay, so Historic only goes back as far as whatever the first set that was released on Magic Arena is, because it's an Arena format. It's essentially, no one plays paper Historic, they only play it on Arena.
Oh, okay.
And Pioneer was a set that is essentially like modern as everything from Meriden up, which is like ancient at this point. It's like what, 2000?
15 years?
Like 20, 15, 20 years. And then Pioneer is supposed to be kind of the answer to that of like, okay, well, we're going to start a little bit later. So I think it's Wait, what set is it end up? I don't even remember.
Origins? No. Khans.
No, Origins is that other set that people don't play.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's basically the same thing. It was Khans, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it might be Khans, Band Fetches, yeah.
That's it, which is basically like one set before what Frontier was.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, it's essentially historic, but with way more cards in it. And then a lot of the cards from the historic anthology are in Pioneer. Not all of them. Some of them aren't even in Pioneer, but a lot of them are kind of from Pioneer.
Yep. So it's kind of like a mini modern. It's designed to have old cards with cool synergies, but not to the full extent of modern.
Well, seeing that I'm now an expert on Pioneer, I'll do the Pioneer bannings. So, like it makes more sense now, but yeah, I was just kind of like, I don't even know. I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like there's all these little nuances that seem very similar to one, but just people don't like a certain deck, so they're just like, we'll just go back 20 years, not 21 years or something like that. So these ones always confuse me. But anyway, for Pioneer, the only ban or unban was actually Oath of Nissa, which is unbanned now. So for anyone that doesn't know what that, it was a green card, so play a single green legendary enchantment. When Oath of Nissa enters a battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature, land, or planeswalker card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest at the bottom of your library. And you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast planeswalker spells. I think.
Makes sense.
Oh no, I played this card before. I actually like this card.
It's a good card, and it was banned early on in the days of Pioneer. They tried to avoid, or not avoid, I don't know. It was banned because it was seen as too powerful in the kind of super friends they call, like all planeswalker decks. Because I don't really know why, to be honest. Obviously, it saw a bit too much play, a bit too much power in the very early days. It was one of the early cards banned in Pioneer.
Yeah. So part of the reason for it is it lets you look at like stock couple cards and pick whichever card you need. So it's kind of card filtering, but it also lets you keep shakier hands with worse mana bases. I think that was part of it as well.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, but since it's printing, there have been better cards printed.
Absolutely, and but as I said, their reasoning, the other cards that really help out Green Ram decks have been banned, like Once Upon a Time and things like that, and they think that it's to the point where they can bring these style decks, because the issue was when you've got this card plus Once Upon a Time and other powerful ramp spells, it's just too good. You can play your turn 5, play Super Planeswalker on turn 3 because you're getting it out early, whereas now it's a lot less realistic for that to happen, and it's still going to give power to decks, but not to the point where it's going to make them unbeatable, which is cool. I will say, obviously, again, none of us are Pioneer players really, but I decided to jump into Reddit to see if there was any constructive and adult conversation about these bans, and unsurprisingly, there was none. But a lot of people.
So you're saying it was a shit show?
I'm saying that yes, some people in Reddit were less than friendly and less than adult about the situation. Surprisingly,
obviously.
But as you see, a lot of the negative comments about the bans in general were Pioneer. A lot of people saying that Pioneer has become too much of a combo show. The big one that is talked about is the inverter combo, where it's literally a 2-card combo that just wins the game from nowhere. And there's a lot of other just degenerate combos that stop you from playing real games. And again, not a Pioneer player, I haven't played the format myself. It's interesting to see that isn't addressed at all. Like, it's not even in the comments of where, like, it literally just says we're generally happy with the shape of the metagame. So yeah, I'd love to hear from Pioneer players, but I haven't played it myself.
But you said Pioneer in that regard was very similar to Modern. Isn't Modern a bit like that? Like, I feel like whenever I watch Modern, it's like 2 or 3 turns and we're done.
It was. It's not as much anymore. Like, if you look at some of the big cards that made splashes and obviously are now banned, like Splinter Twin, Pod, Mox Opal, or the cards that built towards the Eggs deck. They were very explosive, very combo based. Where I've drawn the 3 cards that make my combo, I've won the game. But through bans and through hate cards that have been printed, and cards that kind of kill combos and specifically designed to defeat archetypes, it's not as much anymore. For sure. Whereas that's why it's, you know, a lot of these people on this Reddit were saying, subreddit, sorry, were saying, you know, why don't you give us the monitoring? Why don't you take out the bad combos that upset people and just let us play our fair Magic games? And yeah, Wizards haven't really addressed that. Cool. Speaking of Modern, Des, I'll let you keep going. What happened in Modern?
Saying that I'm the expert. So the only banding in Modern was Arkham's Astrolabe, which is a weird symbol that I have never seen. It's a snow artifact. So what is that? Like in the corner, it just looks like a kind of like a sun or a star, or oh, maybe it's a snow because being that it's a snow artifact. I don't know.
Nailed it.
I've just never seen that symbol. Or what? Like, how do you get snow? That's my question.
So snow, there are you know how there's basic lands, right? There's basic snow lands, which were in the Ice Age set and Cold Snap. They were, you know, ice snowy theme sets, and there was a special type of mana called snow mana, and any permanent that can produce mana that is a snow permanent, such as Arkham's Astrolabe, that is a snow permanent. So if you tap it for, let's say, red mana using its ability, it can also be used to pay for snow mana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes more sense. I knew that. Of course. No idea. Yeah, so that is pretty much one snow mana, and it says when it enters the battlefield, draw a card, pay 1 and tap, add 1 mana of any kind. Add 1 mana of any color.
For sure.
I don't know. That just kind of seems like a mana rock. It doesn't seem like anything special. Is there a reason why this is banned, or?
So the reason this is banned is kind of the reason that Mox Opal was banned recently as well. I mean, kind of the reason Mox Opal was banned as well. In that it's basically a free source of any color of mana you want. Like most of the mana rocks you see give you colorless mana or a specific color mana. I keep switching between mana and mana. I don't know why I do that, but whatever. And the thing again, you know, looking at the reasoning, because they do give reasoning in the articles for those who haven't seen it, is that this basically allowed everybody to play 5 color good stuff decks where you can just take the, you know, X best cards, play a set of these in, put your snow basics in, and then you can literally just play all the cards you want for these uber powerful with the best cards, and it ramps to them, fixes for them. You never. Other decks, you know, more aggressive decks or combo decks aren't getting a chance to play themselves out because these decks are just coming in big, strong, powerful, never going to get mana screwed, never going to have any issues with casting the cards. To the point where they said that some versions of these Astrolabe decks are winning more than 55% of their games, which is kind of their benchmark for if it's that good, then it's too good.
But there's got to be other cards like this, doesn't there? That's still playable in mana, or just not something as good as this?
So if all of your basic lands are snow lands, you can play this with any of them. Doesn't matter what color you have.
Yeah,
so
true.
that it instantly fixes your color. And then you can, because it's one tap, add 1 of any color, it essentially turns any land that you then tap into any color. So it just instantly fixes all of your mana issues. And then it's hard to deal with because you need to, you know, kill an artifact, right? And then it draws a card when it comes into play, so it replaces itself. So you're not even down a card for having to play this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are definitely other cards that do this, but they don't cost 1 mana. You know, they might.
Oh, okay, yeah, true.
Yeah, like you've got there's versions of this that will sacrifice themselves to do it. Like I can't remember the name of it now that I say it. There's the Chromatic Star, so it's basically the same card, but it sacrifices to add the mana, so that you can do it once. They cost.
And then Prismatic Lens, which is like this, but it costs 2 generic instead of 1 snow.
Yep. For sure. That they have mentioned that they're going to keep an eye on it for other formats like Legacy for similar reasons. But in theory, it should open up Modern to be, like we talked about, more of what it's supposed to be, which is kind of experiencing all the cards in cool synergies, and rather than just here's my best card, here's the best cards out of my folder plus 4 of these. It's basic lands,
Right.
Cool. All right, and wrapping it up with Pauper, I believe, is the last one that we need to talk about. Pauper bans, they have banned Expedition Map and Mystic Sanctuary. I mean, they basically just should ban Tron lands, but they're still not doing that. But that's why they're getting rid of Expedition Map, to help reduce the consistency of Tron lands. For those of you who don't know, Expedition Map is 1 mana artifact that you can pay 2 and tap to sacrifice and search your library for any land card, reveal it, put it into your hand. So that's where you pick up your Tron land, or Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant, or what's the other one? Urza's Tower. There we go. Very generic combo. Very bad combo.
Generic names.
There we go. That lets you get lots of mana early and cast big stuff when you shouldn't be casting big stuff. They want to hurt that without taking away Tron, because Tron's kind of it's a Modern staple, it's a Pauper staple. It's a lot of people have it close to their heart, and it would be a lot of very upset people if they actually banned Tron lands specifically. So they're doing what they can to reduce the effectiveness. No, the consistency. That's the word I'm thinking of.
There it is.
Yeah. The other thing they talked about, obviously, Mystic Sanctuary, which is a land from a recent set. It's an island. When it enters battlefield, if you control 3 or more other islands, you can put a target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. I don't know enough about Pauper to know what that does for me. I'm assuming there's some kind of degenerate lockout, keep casting the same card over and over again.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Turn 1, like land, I play my 1/1, right?
Yep.
My 1/1 flyer, whatever it is. Turn 2, I counterspell. Turn 3, I play this and get my counterspell back in my hand. Counterspell. Turn 4, I play another one of these, get my counterspell back. Counterspell. Yeah.
Yeah.
In Pauper.
Okay, that's pretty gross.
Yeah, it's just really annoying, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting to see how they did that. I guess there's also.
Also, isn't Delver part of Pauper?
It sure is.
Yep.
Or is he banned?
No, it's not banned as far as I'm aware.
Not from memory.
Could be.
Yeah, so then you instantly get to transform your Delver as well.
Yeah, definitely helps just out the top of your library. I suppose there's some other cards that care about what's the top of your library as well, isn't there?
Yeah. It's a really, really efficient card for a land. Normally you have to pay kind of 4 mana for something like that good, right? 3-4 mana for something to return an instant or sorcerer from your graveyard.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe we should have a chat with Jordan to see if he can tell us what that's going to mean for any Pauper decks he might know about. Cool. All right, so that's banning. So I think that the bannings overall, I think the general consensus, like I said, from what I saw on that lovely Reddit post, is that Modern's understandable. People seem to understand about the Astrolabe banning. They don't seem to be too upset about it in general. Obviously, there's outliers on both ends. A lot of people concerned about Standard, like I was saying, with Growth Spiral still being in the format without having any kind of oppression on it. But Pioneer, I think fans of Pioneer are really upset that there hasn't been bigger steps taken. One of the arguments is that there's no big Pioneer tournaments happening, and that might change if they ever do them again. But wait and see, all right?
Yeah, I heard that they're not even firing events on Mitgo because there's just not enough players.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the comments, and I think that comes back to the biggest audience for Pioneer are the people who will play it at premier events, but there's literally no point in them doing them because there's no events happening. All the events are on Arena now. There's no paper events obviously until at least the end of the year. They're not going to be doing high stakes tournaments on Magic Online, so that's the only place Pioneer can be played. So yeah, once it gets back into rotation with the with Pro Tours and whatever, then I think it will start picking up again.
Hopefully. Yeah, it's always sad to see a format die.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Any other thoughts on bannings?
No.
Not really. I think we kind of went over everything.
Cool. All right. Now, food time. I heard you bought me a present.
I bought myself a present. Yeah, so I got the Magic Fest in a box because, like, I was totally planning on going to, like, Magic Fest Vegas this year and meeting up with people, and then the state of the world kind of changed, and we can't do that. So Channel Fireball offered, essentially, it's Magic Fest in a box, so you get all the promos that you would normally get for going to a live event. I ordered the Commander Edition because, of course, I did, so that came with 4 promo soul rings, a foil promo soul ring, some full art, alternate art, past exiles, some in foil, 4 of each, because, it's commanders, there's 4 of everything. I came with 4 playmats that were all GP playmats. I got a Tarmogoyf playmat that's friggin' incredible. I got a Vendilion Click playmat, pretty baller. Also, one of the Excellent Vampires and the... oh god, I can't remember the name. The cycling card from Amonkhet that counters an activated or triggered ability, like the Birdman, with like the Bolus Spear. Looks super sick. Nice. So really happy with those. Got the GP Vegas, or like the Grand Prix basic lands, some artist tokens, all kinds of stuff. So super rad. I did actually an opening of it on my Twitch stream, so if you guys want to check that out, it should still be up there on a VOD. I'll probably upload that somewhere if anyone wants to watch. So that was pretty fun.
Can we see all the opening, or was maybe some of the first of it not recorded properly, or?
No, I recorded that whole one. I did that probably about 2 days ago.
Okay.
Yeah, no, what Numbers is referring to is I had an unfortunate little mishap earlier today. I attempted to stream some Collector's Booster openings and forgot to hit start stream and talk to myself in my room for a good 15 minutes. That was fun.
Yeah, we've all done it once or twice. You're not a real streamer until you spend a bit of time talking to yourself, right?
Oh yeah, I'm not a real streamer yet. It'll happen,
buddy. It'll happen. So obviously not sponsored by Channel Fireball, but it's interesting to hear about these products that you can get. What was the rough price on that one, Futon?
I think it was like 150.
Okay, which
wasn't bad.
A lot less than you probably would have spent if you went to a Magic Fest, right?
Definitely. I have like poor impulse control.
Samesies. So you spent $150. Do you think you got your value? Do you think you got $150 worth of value out of that?
Yeah, probably. Oh, it also came with deck boxes and sleeves. So like 4 deck boxes and 4 packs of 100 count sleeves, which is fine. I mean, I'm going to put them all to use. So
yeah, that's the important thing. As long as you're getting use out of them, that's really what you want to be spending your money on, right?
I gotta admit though, that seems like really good value. I kind of wish they shipped to Australia, but I reckon that with the exchange rate and shipping to Australia, it'd probably get hit next July and be about $500.
I would say.
Yeah, it looked like they did Japan, most of Europe, South America. If for some reason they just didn't want to give you guys the product. Get out of here, Australia. You got too many kangaroos, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the joys of living in Australia. You tend to miss out on a lot of things. Awesome. Any other cool purchases recently, Food Time?
Yeah, so I was talking about the Collector's Boosters opening that I did since I didn't actually stream it. Pulled pretty hot. I got 2 for M21 and 1 for Theros Beyond Death. My Theros Beyond Death booster had the Elspeth showcase, borderless foil. Super pretty. I didn't actually own one of those, so it's cool that I own one now. And my M21 booster, I got a Scavenging Ooze. Same thing, borderless showcase foil.
Nice.
Super pretty. Love Skoos. Everybody loves the Skoos, right? And most importantly, out of the very third pack, in my foil rare slot, I pulled a Basri Ket, the Planeswalker.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
then I also pulled a Teferi foil borderless showcase. So that kind of paid for all the packs there. So that was really cool. I think I misspoke. I think Basri was in the Skoos set pack, but who cares, right? I pulled 3 Planeswalkers in 3 packs. It was super sick. And then the Teferi is absolutely beautiful, so very happy with that.
Nice. And
I was going to say, considering we saw a few of them prior to stream, oh my god, those cards are gorgeous.
they are quite
Like, I
beautiful.
must... I do like the wireless, the borderless ones. I don't know, I just feel like they're just amazing, so... Man, gotta have love for them. I like them. I like those cards.
For sure.
Yeah, a lot of them look really, really cool.
And I'm guessing you already have some commander decks that you've lined up to put them into?
Oh yeah, you know it. I've got so many commander decks. So many decks.
So many commander decks. I knew you had a lot of commander decks, but there was a tweet that went semi-viral that you put out and was retweeted by a few big names. That's more than I imagined you having, I gotta say.
Yeah, it's pretty cray.
It's pretty bloody cray.
Dude, I told you, poor impulse control. I just build decks, man. Like, I got cards around here. They gotta get to use, man. I'm not gonna just let them sit around.
For sure. All right. Well, I think that'll do us this week, guys. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up with a dumb question?
No, not at all.
Cool.
No.
Pretty short episode, I believe, but we got through all the important stuff. So let's have a look. Last week, Des, you asked a dumb question. You asked what non-legendary creature would you like to be able to use as a commander? I said Hellrider, and we got 0 votes on Hellrider. So twice in a row, we got votes with polls with 0 votes. Des's Brash Taunter answer got 20% of the vote, and probably unsurprisingly, 2 times Soulfire Grandmaster, 80% of the vote. Definitely knows what the commander folks want to see.
Oh yeah, of course I do.
It's like he plays or something.
It's almost like he actually plays commander.
Yeah, almost.
All right, Des. Let's make another good one. What is your dumb question for this week?
Okay, so you're allowed to kill off one format. What would it be?
Commander.
Joke answer, standard. No. Allowed to kill off a format entirely?
So just the format never gets played ever again.
Yep.
I wouldn't be upset about if we lost Modern. That's probably the best way to say it. Like, Modern as it exists. Let me start again. So I left the game for a while and came back in Return to Ravnica, and that's when Modern was first announced, because before it was Extended, which was a Standard Plus. And when Modern was first explained to me, it was explained to me as a rotating format of the last 10 years of Magic. And I thought that sounded pretty cool. Like literally just the last 10 years, every year, set the year before drops off, the new set rotates, so it's just 10 years rotating. And yeah, that seemed like a good idea at the time. And then as it went on, I realized that this isn't right. It's actually a non-rotating format starting, which just happened to be 10 years before when it came out. I think, obviously there's reasons why it's not, and I get that because there's a lot of money people are investing, and if it was to rotate, a lot of decks would become defunct regularly. But if they were to come out and say Modern has been cancelled and we're replacing it with a rotating set that's just 10 years, 10 years of Magic rotating, I wouldn't be upset at all. I think that'd be a good idea. But yeah, that's me.
So, like, real talk, I don't really want to see any format disappear because I don't want to take ways people like to play the game away from them. I don't think that's really like... people just enjoy different things, you know?
Food times like this. Which one's my favorite kid? I can't pick a favorite kid.
Everybody has.
That's what that answer sounds like.
I'm here with the diplomatic answer of, you let people play their favorite formats, and we don't take things from people. We just add more formats, and we just let people play whatever they want. Yeah, actually, you know what format can die? Never mind, I've changed my mind. Tiny Leaders. I'm pretty sure it's already dead, but it can die anyways.
What is it?
It's like Tiny Leaders is Commander, but everything has to cost 3 or less, and it's really dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, another one that...
And it's 60 cards.
60 cards.
Yeah, because it's tiny.
Yeah, so what is it, like Baby Brawl?
I guess it's like a proto, like Bad Brawl. Yeah, Baby Commander. Liquefy becomes the best counterspell ever. It's really bad.
It was one of those ones that was never
I
officially a format, but Wizards did do a thing on it, and then it was cool when they announced it. Like everyone started brewing decks, but then it kind of got solved and not as interesting pretty quickly.
I love how Food Time was like, I'm being diplomatic. Actually, there's that one thing that really messes just grinds my gears. Get rid of that.
And did you have an answer?
I actually want to get rid of Standard. I know it's going to cause a lot of controversy, but I feel like Limited and Draft explores the first, like the latest sets. I just feel like you know how you said with Modern how it's like it's meant to be like the last 5 or 10 years or whatever like that. I feel like with Standard, so often than not, we're just going, hey, yay, we're getting a new set to bring into Standard, which is then just going to make one deck that everybody plays. And I don't know, like I know it hasn't always been that, but the last few that I've seen and like the last few years that I've seen it, I feel like it's kind of like, wait, we can make 1 or 2 decks and then we just have to hope we draw better than the other person. So I kind of feel like I wish Standard maybe got brought in more so you could do like the last 4 years rather than just like the last 8 sets. I know Numbers is sitting there. You can see him, like there's a vein on the top of his head pulsing in the video as I'm saying this. But I don't know, like I like Limited, I don't mind Standard, but I feel like Standard seems like such almost like a very closed off set. So for me, I don't know, like I just feel like it's like, hey, there's a cycling deck, and then every single person just plays cycling, or it's a such and such deck, and then everybody just plays that. And for me, I just kind of go, I don't know, like I just don't feel like it's that. For me, it's not that entertaining because I'm just like, it's kind of the same deck with 1 or 2 cards.
Yeah,
you can talk now, Numbers.
No, I get where you're coming. I mean, obviously, not that there was ever a chance of it happening, but it's never going to happen. Obviously, Standard is the bread and butter for Magic. Like, if they took it away...
Oh, I understand that, yeah.
But I think, kind of like with my answer, if they were going to take it away, it'd have to be replaced with something. But I think what you're saying is just a product of the time we're in at the moment. And, yeah, as you said, like, every time a new set drops, yes, it does look like... hey, this is the fixed deck for the format. Enjoy playing it for the next 3 months and let's see what the next fixed deck is. And no, it wasn't always that way. And hopefully Wizards can get this stuff together and get it to the point where Standard can be a diverse meta, where, there can be, even 3 or 4 decks which are viable, like completely viable, like, back in the day but it's kind of because of the way that the cards are made and because of the freedom of information on the internet, I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
Yeah, like, I mean, okay. I get it. It's all hypothetical, and I get that Standard isn't Tingo, but I feel like maybe we need to give it, like, a broader playing round. Like, how you said with Modern, you got told that it was, like, the last 10 years or the last 8 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Why not bring Modern and Standard kind of closer together and just go, okay, the last 4 years of cards, we can do that.
Yeah, hashtag bring back
I don't know. I just feel like, lately for me, Standard has seemed very sour. And, like, obviously I don't remember the good old days. I haven't played for long enough to probably make that big call, and I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate. So, but I don't know. I just feel like for me, it just seems like it's kind of like 1 or 2 decks just battle each other out. So you go to your, like, Friday Night Magic and you're like, sweet, I'm literally just going to play 6 decks. And 5 of them are probably exactly the same as mine, or they got 2 or 3 cards different. And it's just going to be who can draw the best cards.
Sorry, Food Time, you were saying something?
What if... This is, like, a little unrelated, but... you know how pushed Standard tends to be? Like, how powerful everything tends to be and how games kind of end quickly. What do you think there might be an argument for increasing the max, like, starting health in Magic from 20 to, like, maybe 25 or 30?
I mean, maybe.
Just to have games not end on turn 4 or 5 and have them end, like, a little bit later, just so that there's more, like, meat and potatoes, there's more gameplay to your game. I mean, that or obviously, like, stop printing powerful cards, but, like, if they don't stop doing that. I don't know, just a little thought.
Definitely a thought experiment.
It popped into my head.
I guess the question obviously at the top of my mind is how much is that new to aggro as an archetype in general?
Yeah, I mean, you maybe just make aggro like, put a little more pushed, but like it helps everything else. But even then, like there are some aggro decks where your last swing you're killing people by like 7, 8, 9 extra HP.
Yeah, it's true. It's interesting.
That
It's interesting. Going off topic, I actually I listened to one of Mark Rosewater's podcasts where he interviewed Richard Garfield, and one of the questions was why 20 life, and Richard Garfield was just that's just what it was. Like that's just the number we picked, and that's what we've stuck with. I don't think there's ever been a justifiable answer as to why it is 20. And I mean, I'm sure Wizards have tested and tried and talked about changing it. But yeah, I'd be interested to try it out. Just to see how it works, to see what if that changes what decks look like, or if it just makes the same game go longer.
Yeah. There's an argument for that too. I was just
definitely interesting thought experiment.
Maybe somebody knows.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up, guys. Any last thoughts? Anything else you want to talk about this week? Cool.
No, I think I've already put enough controversy in.
All right. Well, look. On that note, let's call it a show. Thanks for chatting with me. Let's do it again sometime. Bye. And welcome back to MTGRBD. I'm your host, MP Numbers, and I need to start that again because I'm an idiot. Keep it going.
Why are we talking like William Shatner?
That's just how I say it. I don't know. It just works for me.
Because we are recording a podcast, and sometimes you just talk a little differently than in your normal voice.
So you have to pause and change your cater after every couple of words.
That is exactly what we're going to do because, that's just how we are going to be doing things here today.